Good afternoon, tutor. Today I'm going to explain what is dialect and what it consists and its different kinds. So dialect is used to describe features of grammar, vocabulary, and also it focuses on pronunciation. But what it makes it different from the other studies, like for example accent, which normally is confused accent with dialect, it makes it different because in dialect sometimes or every time the grammatical construction it varies, and also not only the grammatical construction but the vocabulary it changes sometimes depending on the area where the language is spoken. Normally people confuses dialect with accent, but accent only focuses or only uh, put more attention in pronunciation. In dialect we put more attention in vocabulary and the grammatical construction because there is a variation of these two features when we talk about dialect, and sometimes it's not very recognized by people. In order to study dialect, we have something called dialectology. Dialectology it helps us to study dialect um, in order to distinguish dialects of the one same language or dialects of two different languages. And also it helps us or guide us to establish a very close analysis to what dialect is, put importance in it in the studies in the study and the analysis of it. Like we sometimes we put more attention on language, we analyze language, we study language, but sometimes we don't put the same attention to dialect. So it helps us to put these two in worth of analysis. Dialects usually are related to regions. So there are different regions where words are spoken or said differently, and sometimes it's taken as a source of making fun or making jokes or has a human source, a humor source, sorry, and it's recognized for that. But also in different regions, dialect have devoted a lot of survey, of research to the identification of consistent features of the speech in one geographical area compared to another. So what this means is actually that there are different areas or regions where words are being said differently, and sometimes dialect studies that when people in different regions they are trying to say the same word but they use different pronunciation or they change the grammatical construction of the words. In order to identify these regional dialects, there is something that is called isogloss or dialect boundaries. So the isogloss is the line that is drawn in a map separating two areas accompanied with an illustration with drawings represents the boundaries between the areas regarding a particular linguistic item. So there is a map that is usually used to difference two different dialects or two different. Um, it's not more to difference; it's to compare. So in this map, there are certain drawings that are put on the map in order to identify how that object is set in different regions of the map. So when we're talking about a map that is used for geographically separate two different ways to speak or two different to say different kind of words, we talk about dialect continuum. Dialect continuum is a type of dialect that occurs when related languages are separated by borders or by different areas. So depending on the border, for example, there are two countries together and both of the countries both speak the same language. But when we talk about, for example, Canada and United States. If we go across the border to Canada, we can find out that there are different words that probably means the same to the people or North American people, but they are being said differently. So these borders are usually positioned in these maps to clearly identify two different types of dialects. So in Colombia, we have different examples of these dialects because in Colombia we have a variety of different cultures or different intonation, different pronunciation of words. So for example, I have two examples here that I want to expose. One of them is, for example, in Ibagué or in Tolima, uh, kid is said Wambito. When kid, normally in Cali, it's kid, niño. But in Tolima, it's called Wambito, but it means the same thing. It means kid, a child. Another example is, for example, we here in Cali, we use a lot the verb be. Be is like see, but here is more something to attach words together or we put at the end of that sentence. So this is dialect, and this is a clear example of what dialect means and what it studies. Thank you, tutor, for your attention. Right now I'm at work, so if I seem a little bit distracted during the video is because I'm on an airplane and sometimes or usually there are people on board, so I get sometimes distracted, but I'm very concentrated just making this exposition just to comply with the requirements to really make it to the through the course. Thank you so much for listening and signing off.